We're back, live in studio with Samuel Ezerzer in the business headquarters of Radio Shalom 1650 AM in Montreal with the Money and Business Show. You have questions about your personal finances? You need advice in making sound financial decisions? Samuel and his guests are ready to take your call at 514-738-4100, extension 200. And now, back to the Money and Business Show.
Again, my name is Samuel Ezerzer for the Money and Business Show of Radio Shalom, CJRS 1650 AM in Montreal. We're going live here to bartend.ca with Patrick Ohanessian. He's the owner of the Bartending School. And today we're going to talk about, how students out there can pay their debts. People go to school, they rack up a lot of debts. Either be credit cards and so on, and then 3 years after they own a lot of money. And one of the options, you can go to work out there, but one of the working I found very interesting, and you can make a lot of money on tips, really, is to become a bartender or a barmaid, and there's no shame into that. You make money with a good restaurant, a good kosher restaurant. Let's talk about that. Or a hotel, or or a hall. How are you, Patrick?
I'm still here.
Good. Patrick, the theme of today, we're going to be talking about students paying their loans. Tell us a little bit something about that. Through bartending. Yeah, through bartending
that's a good one. I have a lot of graduates in accounting and lawyers and doctors that paid their whole education working as bartenders.
Is that right?
Yes.
They went through 3 years of school. They racked up, let's say, $20,000 of debt, and within those 3 years, they paid off their debt just being a bartender. It doesn't matter if you work in a hotel.
Not only that, but they supplement their income also. Some of these professionals that are working, they want to supplement their income. They also want to meet people, so they get themselves a little bartending job. They can work Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings. And instead of just going out, they're making money, and they're meeting friends, and they're working.
Okay, but a lot of them who are lawyers and doctors and accountants that went through a part-time job.
Yes, it's a good question.
And they actually paid their way through school, right?
They paid their way through school, and they either that or once they did graduate from and became a professional, they would supplement their income. Because a lot of them, they're working in an office, or they're doing whatever job they have, and they like to go out. And instead of going out, they work in a bar, and they work
or a hotel.
Like I said, Thursday, Friday, Saturday are the biggest evenings.
Okay, well, like I said, we have a lot of listeners who are they can't work on Saturday. They call it Shomer Shabbos. I'm sure that you can't work on Saturday, but I'm sure they can work on Sundays and Mondays and Tuesdays and none of the holidays. But what are we talking about? At the introduction, I spoke a little bit about tip, because this is really a tip business. You can make yourself $12 an hour. Okay, not great pay, but when it comes to the tip, obviously they work for their tip. And what are we looking at over here? We're looking.
It really depends where you work. Depends how many drinks you can prepare in an hour. If you work, like I said, if you work in a private club and you're making 5 drinks in 1 hour, you're obviously going to be making direct contact with the patrons. So you're going to be, you're going to have to be hospitable with them and have a conversation going on with them, and the aim is to get a nice tip from the client. If you work in a nightclub, you're not going to meet the client. You're just going to be preparing drinks and then placing them on a counter, and then the waiter's going to come and pick them up, or they're just going to be given directly to the client. But you're not going to hold a conversation with them. So the tip can be $1, between $1 and $2 per drink. Mm-hmm. So if you're serving 500 drinks in one night, then that's how much tip you'll be making. You obviously have to split the tips with your whoever's working with you. Mm-hmm. It really depends. If you're working in a hotel, and you're serving just serving clients, it's a different.
So can
really,
I say?
It depends on the evenings also. If you're working on a Thursday night, if you're working on a Monday night, it depends how many. Okay. It really depends on the number of drinks you're making.
So can I say, in an average night, let's say a student, forget about somebody who wants to do this full time. Let's say a student who works 2 or 3 times a week. can they make about anywhere from $200 to $300 a night just on tips?
Yeah, they can make that easy.
Okay. And they don't have to ask their fathers, their mothers, or their aunts or their grandparents for money. I mean, they can go through school. I mean, this is,
they
like
can make that easy.
I see.
But, they have to be personable. I mean, you can't have someone there with a frown and that's like not happy about his job, and is like he's taking his problems to work, and then the client feels that you know that as a client.
Of course.
When someone just slams down a bottle of beer in front of you and just slides it over to you, and they're upset. You're not going to give them a quarter tip.
You're 100% right. But you know what I see, and Patrick, you've seen this also last year. All those demonstrations that we saw on the streets. For $300 or $400 more, for the student, when they go to school, and they go on the streets, all the riots and screaming and yelling and the breaking of the glass, which I saw, when I was in downtown working there, and when they're demonstrating for $300, here is a job that you can make $200 to $300 in one day.
Oh yeah, if you're not lazy and you're personable, you're going to work and you're going to make money. That's definite. If you want to work, if you like to be social, you like this industry, the hospitality industry, you're going to make money.
So if someone will go to a hotel and go through your school, they get a certification, right?
Yes.
That you pass through the certification within the week or whatever it is, and a hotel will look at you differently, right? I mean, it's not somebody coming off the streets.
They're going to ask you, where have you worked? And if you're obviously going to tell them, well, I haven't worked anywhere, but I've taken a bartending course. So, and then they're going to get to the point of, they're going to go further. They're going to want to ask you, what are your, what cocktails can you prepare? Are you familiar with exotic cocktails? Are you just familiar with classic cocktails? Are you familiar with shooters? How familiar are you with spirits?
Okay.
With wines and with champagnes. And it's nice to take our course, but our course is a good foundation. Then you have to go and you have to make sure that you extend that foundation and learn. If you want to learn more about spirits, if you want to learn more about wines, and you should do that.
So you're right. And so what do you say to those students, going out on demonstrations, screaming and yelling, and all those deadbeats out there? Right, really, that's what they are, lazy deadbeats.
Yeah, they're lazy.
Lazy, and for $300-400, we had $100 million damages for the year, and I mean, I'm not going to go more into it, but what do you say to these students? Hey, why don't you come take our course? You can get to work to hotel, you can work in the summer, you can, what do you say to them?
There's no reason that in a city, cosmopolitan city like Montreal, there's no with so many bars and so many clubs, so many hotels. There's no reason that someone that wants to work in the hospitality industry, someone that's sociable, someone that speaks well, that's bilingual, that has a nice smile, there's no reason why they wouldn't get a job, because it's such a transient. That industry is so transient. That there really is no reason, unless you're really lazy and you have a pouty face and you're like always like you just don't want to work. Then that's not your industry. So,
what is the one thing you never do as a barmaid or bartender or waiter or waitress to protect the patron's privacy, because this is their privacy here. This is their restaurant, or hall or club. How do you?
Well, there are a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing when you're a bartender, but the most important thing is if you get phone calls. If a bartender will get a phone call and ask you, hey, is John Smith, is he in your bar tonight? You're not going to answer that question, because that's the privacy of the client. I mean, he shouldn't. When you're sitting in a bar, you shouldn't divulge. Your bartender shouldn't divulge that you're there, basically, and that's very important. And that a lot of people don't understand that. They don't really know that, so that's something I...
What about now? It used to be a cash business, the tips, right? I mean, and now the Parti Québécois, the Pauline Marois of the world, and everybody, they want a piece of the action now, right? Remember in the past, the tips weren't included, but now there's an 8%, right? Now they charge 8% now per, let's say, per drink or whatever it is, that the employee has to pay to the government. So how do we? So what's happening right now in this industry? Are people saying, "Well, I don't want to, claim my tips or something like that," or what are they saying now that's different?
Well, you got to. If you're making money on your tips, you should pay your taxes on your tips, and that's, there's no way around that. You're living in Canada, and it's not a third world country, and if you got taxes to pay, you pay them.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. And
but before before it was a
there's a reason why there's taxes. I mean, it's an industry that makes a lot of money, and it's got to be taxed. If the government decides to tax it, then
I know where I'm getting at right now. What I'm getting to the question is the restaurants. I mean, do they claim that those tips in the past, and now they're forced to do it, and it's hurting them a little bit. Getting quality people. This is what I'm getting at.
No, it's not going to hurt them at all.
Not
it's
at all.
Not going to hurt them, and people are, they're just going to have to get used to it.
Okay, good. All right, Patrick, stay on the line. We're going to another commercial, Patrick. Again, we have Patrick Ohanessian. We're going live here in Montreal, who owns Bartenders. We're going to be talking a little bit more. If you have any questions, please give us a call, 514-738-4100. We're going to be taking calls. If you have any calls for Patrick, more in the hospitality industry, which is a great industry to be in. Why not? If you're a student, go ahead. Again, my name is Samuel Ezerzer for the Money Mission Radio Show. I'm CJRS 1650 AM in Montreal.